Hi ladies, welcome to Alluvia Collective. You are in the explore page of my site. This is a free area for everyone to have a look around. There are quite a few free trainings to get a bit of an idea of some of the topics and subjects that we will unpack on a weekly basis in tier 1 of the membership part of the platform, which comes also along with that rich conversation of talking to other women going through this experience, which I really do believe is the gold dust. But my role is to cut through the misinformation. So I sort of hope you're almost starting with this one if you are starting out. Perimenopause, what is happening? Now, when I went through perimenopause, I'm 55 now. I am post-menopause, but 10 years ago, there was no information. We didn't even really know what menopause was. So I really want to sort of get this platform out to women to cut through not just information, but misinformation as well. Simplifying it down, that ability to talk to other women. So every week that, I'll do a webinar, whether that be on my own or whether I bring in an expert where people can ask questions. But even if you can't make it, you can watch it in your own time. And I'll be creating a SIF sheet every single time we do a webinar so that you get to just understand the key points and then ask questions and talk to me and other women on the site about it. So that's what it's going to be all about. So perimenopause, what is this and what's happening to our body? So one of those things that is quite complicated about this journey is people say hormone balancing, which really isn't true. You can't balance your hormones. Your body balances what it's doing, otherwise we wouldn't be alive. But what this phase of our life represents is, first of all, in a really erratic array of changes in our levels of our hormones until we go through to the other side where you can see they just start to tank and leave the building completely. So what perimenopause is, which is this time which for some of us might be 2 or 3 years, for other women it's up to 10, is this time before the day of menopause, which I'll explain in a minute. And your estrogen, a lot of us think that our estrogen just starts going down, and that is not what perimenopause, and why perimenopause is so erratic is that estrogen just goes up and down, and it can actually skyrocket even above, well above the levels that you had. I had that in my 20s or 30s. My estrogen was really high. My body wasn't getting rid of it, but my progesterone was almost gone, had left the building. So we'll go into a little bit more about that and a lot more depth as to what these hormones do and why they make you feel like you do. So this erratic storm one day, kind of out the gate, doing different things, this is the perimenopause phase. Now, menopause, ladies, is actually the word given just to one day. It's the end of the day when you haven't had a menstrual cycle for 12 months. That is called your day of menopause, and every day after that is post-menopause. And as you can see from the graph, that's when progesterone and estrogen sort of start to just whittle away to nothing. Stable, interesting word that's come up on this graph, but low levels. And our HRT, obviously, I'm personally on HRT, but for anyone that takes our HRT, we're putting progesterone, estrogen, and sometimes testosterone back in. I've actually only looked at progesterone and estrogen here. A lot less study at this stage has been done on testosterone. So we're just going to look at these two hormones in this particular training. What symptoms can you be experiencing in perimenopause? So it's a little bit of a minefield, actually, because there tend to be stages in perimenopause, and I'm going to go into that in much greater depth in tier 1 of the membership. Hot flashes, interestingly, tend to happen later in perimenopause. I never got those. Certainly woke up hot in the night, but hot flashes during the day. Everyone is different, ladies, and that's something you've really got to take on board. Talk to other people. That's why I want to get a large group of women talking to each other in our membership platform, because you want to start sharing experiences. What did you do for this? And how did you experience this? It's all different for everybody, and we need that group chat. That's what women are so good at. Sleep disturbance, I think, is probably the most common. Sleep disturbance and anxiety and low energy, I would say, are the most common ones that I've heard. And again, they can fluctuate. The 2 to 3 a.m. waking can happen for some women as early as 40, 41 and carry on for quite a long time. I've certainly dealt with that one a lot, so I'm going to delve into it a lot. Anxiety comes out of nowhere like a freight train. You don't even know what it's all about. Even if you've never suffered with it before, it can really hit you in this phase. Panic attacks, brain fog. Now, gut and digestive issues, they seem to get worse. Our gut microbiome, and I'm going to delve into that one a lot because nutrition is one of the areas that I'm really big on, and I've also suffered with the gut and digestive issues and bloating so badly. And we must remember not to always put sort of physical health symptoms just down to perimenopause or menopause. Go and get them checked out because they can also be markers for other things. And women are getting passed off the travesty of women's health and the injustice that we are delivered, sadly, or not delivered. Is certainly something I know we're all going to be talking about in the community chat. Itchy skin, unexplained weight gain, and I'm going to go, there is actually a little training just to start you off on that one. Poor mental health, frozen shoulder and joint pain, the musculoskeletal sort of side of perimenopause and menopause, this decrease in estrogen, which is anti-inflammatory, that has a lot to do with that. Increased fat deposits around your belly, there's lots of, physiological reasons for that, hormonal reasons for that. Muscle loss. There are things that we can do though, ladies. So stop. I don't want to be the bearer of doom and gloom because it looks like that and it certainly feels like that. And I certainly know I've been through it. But what we want to do is look at what we can do to support us. I don't know, what have you been experiencing? Have you had anything yet? A few of those things, all of those things? It's tough. So yeah, what's going on? This fluctuation of all three hormones, but progesterone and estrogen are the ones we talk most about. And they fluctuate in perimenopause until they tank out into menopause. It's important to note that progesterone levels tend to decline in perimenopause first, and that has a profound effect on sleep and our mental health. Progesterone is an incredibly powerful hormone that doesn't get the sort of Oscar-winning sort of social media focus that estrogen does, but it is equally as important. These hormones are responsible for so many of the functions of our body and our mind and how we feel. But there are elements of our lifestyle that we have full control over, like stress management, like nutrition, like movement, that can help us in this phase going forward. However, none of those things can change your estrogen and progesterone levels. Only HRT can do that if it's something that you're keen on. And we don't want to minimize the impact that these things can have for many women on both our physical and our mental health for the years to come. So this is a little graph that actually shows you there are phases to perimenopause. There's the early, the mid, and the late. And really the symptoms, they really do change and they morph into other things. And so, take a look at this. So early in perimenopause, the brain fog and the difficulty concentrating, these are when these things are new, and the early morning wake up, probably the most common, as I said, and anxiety. It's almost like, because at this stage, remember, you've got fluctuating menstrual cycles. So especially in early and mid perimenopause, you might still be getting, 28, 31, 32, whatever your cycle, it might still be normal. All of a sudden, they might get really close together. All of a sudden, they might be 6 weeks apart. And then all variations of the above, super, super light, super, super heavy. You can have all of these different things. Going into that mid stage of perimenopause, our energy levels are going to start to crash. As these hormones are fluctuating, they're doing all these different things to us as they do that. And our body composition shifts, that change in where fat deposits go. It used to be, we talked about our, butt and thighs, and then, Lord, you get into perimenopause, late stage perimenopause, menopause, and you wish it all came back to there because it tends to go more towards your tummy. And that is to do with estrogen and this change in hormone fluctuation and what's available to our body. Our cycles start to go completely off script in late perimenopause as our body prepares for that menopause, that day where you've gone 12 months without a period. And that tends to be the later stage of perimenopause, is when women will experience those hot flashes and night sweats. The night sweats are really common. And joint and muscle aches, because at this point now estrogen is leaving the building, and that is our anti-inflammatory. It's our anabolic hormone that helps us with muscle. So all of a sudden the body's preparing for the fact that it's not going to have these hormones around. So just last but not least, ladies, and I'm going to go into this a lot because mental health is also an area I've worked a lot in, and someone also like myself who's a brain injury survivor from a brain tumor, domestic violence survivor, a single parent. Our mindset, our emotional regulation is going to become so important in this phase of our life. Don't get me wrong, there are days where you feel like you can't regulate it at all. But it does really make us feel low in energy, low in motivation, low in self-esteem, and sometimes really defeated. You can feel just utterly hijacked. Why me? Why us? I mean, I think that a lot. Why us? We get it all. But it's vital that we change our mindset around food. And I talk a lot about that around nutrition. Our mindset around a positive relationship with food will really help. A positive relationship with movement and what it's doing for us over and above just the aesthetic reasons, getting strong, being fit, being mobile, being capable, and how to manage our stress. And when it comes, saying that you need to reduce stress, I actually find really annoying, because as someone who's had a really highly stressful life, managing my stress, learning to cope with it is a better tool than just saying I need less of it. So some days though, ladies, and even weeks, and dare I say it, months, are not going to be great. That's why I want the community chat on here, because you need the support of other women to help you through this. And those that care about you, though, whether you have a partner, whether you have grown-up children, your friends, your family, they need to give you support. That's really important. Cut yourself some slack and know that we are all going to go through this differently. There is nothing wrong with you. Heal any poor past relationships you have. If there's one thing I can really say around mindset and mental health as perimenopause kicks in, let's focus on healing those past poor relationships or traumas that we have, because as they come into perimenopause, even PTSD, and I should know from my past trauma, it just amplifies those things. So we want to work on healing them or bringing them to the surface and recognizing them and accepting them. Ditch the scales, lady. Ditch wanting to be smaller. Focus on being healthy, strong, fierce, capable, just feeling good about yourself. On those good days, feel really good, because on the bad days, you're going to be able to get a little bit of that. So that's just a little bit around what's happening in perimenopause. Thanks for joining me, and I really hope you can join us in Tier 1 and be part of our regular group chat and community. Thanks, ladies. Bye.